Why would you sit around worrying that these guys are getting over levered? That's not the problem at all. All the Bitcoin treasury companies can't get over levered if they wanted to. What you've really got is probably not even 5% leverage in the entire system. The crypto companies were levered 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 50 to 1. Like my company's levered 1.1. I think we're very early. Not even 0.1% of companies are doing this. What's the alternative? You're holding Egyptian pounds in your treasury. It's just that there are certain options right now for people that are creative to go beyond just success.
Michael Saylor has just broken his silence and debunked one of the biggest myths about Bitcoin. His latest revelation could completely change investors' perspective on the future of Bitcoin.
I want to touch on the treasury part here as well. Obviously, you really spearheaded this whole movement, and it seems like every other week or every week now we've got new announcements. It's pretty wild. My question is, are we still so early that simply adopting a Bitcoin treasury strategy is enough, or are there certain fundamentals that the underlying company must have? Are there instances where you might not suggest it? So I'm just kind of curious your thoughts in and around that.
Every company, look, every family on earth should adopt the Bitcoin standard, right? What is that, 1 billion families?
Yeah.
Every person on earth should adopt the Bitcoin standard. That's 8 billion people. Every company on earth should adopt the Bitcoin standard. That's 400 million companies. Now your next question is, well, is there anything I can do that's better than that? Well, there are a lot of other twists to it. If you take a private company, take it public, right? You add value. Now, all of these companies are competing to do something. The issue is, what's the something? And it depends on the company. So I think we're very early. I mean, not even 0.1% of companies are doing this, right? So, I mean, if you're less than 1% adoption, you're still pretty early. There's a lot of different business models you can pursue. If you're a private company and you're raising $10 million in order to fund operating losses, you could just raise 50 million and buy 40 million of Bitcoin and fund 10 million in operating losses. And I would definitely recommend that. That's better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So every private company can do that. Now the question is, can you raise the money? Okay, well, it depends on who you are and whether or not we like your company and whether you're trustworthy. So this all becomes an exercise in capital raising. And the question is, will some companies be better at raising capital than others? Sure, they will. Mm-hmm. Are there some markets, if you're launching a company, a Bitcoin treasury company in Japan, your odds are higher than if you're launching that same company in Venezuela, right? I mean, where's the money, right? So I think that the successes will be companies. Well, first of all, every company will be successful, right? What's the alternative? You're holding Egyptian pounds in your treasury. So every single Egyptian company that adopts the Bitcoin standard will be more successful than if it didn't, right? It's just that there are certain options right now for people that are creative to go beyond just success. If you're the first company in Japan to adopt the Bitcoin standard and you grow rapidly and you generate a lot of capital, then not only do you have the most compelling BTC-backed equity in the Japanese capital market, you can have the most compelling BTC credit instruments. What is trillions of dollars in Japan, right? So how many companies in Japan can do that? Well, not every company can be the Amazon of capital markets in Japan, but at least one can be. Now, what about the rest? What happened? The subtext is always, well, is it too late for the rest of us? No, you're still better off than if you didn't. Yeah. Right. For example, how many companies have issued mortgage-backed securities? How many companies have issued mortgages? Or how many companies have ever issued junk bonds? If you're the first company to issue the junk bond, then I guess that's good. But what about the second or the third? It worked for them too. So I think as a practical matter, everybody benefits. The early adopters benefit more. Those that are run by a charismatic leader and a good management team can grow faster. The more creative you are, the better. And if you're, if you're not disciplined in the way you run the capital structure, then you won't do as well.
My, I guess, follow up to that would be, historically, we've seen ill-placed criticisms thrown at Bitcoin because of people doing irresponsible things with it and their companies blowing up. So I'm talking about, exchange blowups and paper Bitcoin and all this kind of stuff. And Bitcoin is very efficient at pointing out the irresponsible behavior and punishing it. So I guess my question as it pertains to companies that go with a Bitcoin treasury strategy, if companies come into that space that, were underwater already, that, weren't running an efficient business, and then, more or less ape into Bitcoin with debt that they perhaps couldn't afford and the market hits a downturn, does it also, in a way, kind of clear out the riffraff in an expedient manner there? Or does it rescue those people that weren't being particularly prudent with their funds?
Well, there are good companies and bad companies, right? So if I give you a company making $100 million a year and they adopt Bitcoin and they start buying $100 million worth of Bitcoin, they'll be 10x better. If they borrow $1 billion, they'll be 100x better. If they manage to launch in a two market, they'll be 1,000x better. If they screw it up, they won't. If I give you a company that's losing $100 million a year and they announce that they're adopting a Bitcoin standard, no one's going to give them any money. Maybe they don't have any Bitcoin. So the point is, putting out a press release doesn't solve your problem.
Yeah.
So in that particular case, if the company's got $1 billion of debt, losing $100 million a year, putting out a press release announcing that you adopted the Bitcoin treasury model doesn't help you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. If I take a bad company, if I take a bad P&L and I attach a good balance sheet, eventually I burn all the money on the balance sheet. Like, would you invest $500 million of Bitcoin into a company losing $100 million a year that intended to keep losing it? Probably not, right? So the thing about this market is the Bitcoin treasury company movement is traditional companies trading in the public markets that have adopted the Bitcoin standard. It's not crypto companies. So it's impossible for them to actually generate or take on the leverage the crypto companies took over. The crypto companies were levered 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 50 to 1. It was very common in the crypto in the height of the crypto era, people would give you $1 billion loan for 800 million of Yo-Yo token as collateral. Okay. You can't get a loan to buy Bitcoin in the traditional finance market. So for example, I can't sell a bond and so all these Bitcoin treasury companies, they're not getting levered up. They're raising equity. They're not raising debt. The debt markets won't give them capital. So whereas if you look at what created the crypto winter, I was levered up 20 to 1 on FTT token, and then I pledged $1 billion of FTT for some Tether, and then I went and I bought some whatever Luna or something, and you ended up daisy chaining 10x leverage 3 times. You created 1,000x leverage on Yo-Yo token.